Hello everyone, I'm Naresh Kumar. Today we are going to deploy our Docker container in ECS cluster using the CDK. So CDK we can also say it's an infrastructure as a code. So we are writing all the infrastructure in the code and then we are going to deploy all this thing in AWS using few commands, and that command is very simple. So before deploying all this thing, we have to install some few software. So that software we can list out. So we will go to the command prompt, and the first software is AWS CLI. So AWS minus version. So you need to install AWS CLI. The second is the Node.js, because we are writing all this infrastructure as a code in TypeScript. So we need Node. And the last one is CDK. So you can go to the Google and you can download the all this software for your respective PC, whether it's Mac, Windows, or any other OS. Okay, so you can download it, and you need at least one. It means at least not. You need one AWS account. So without AWS account, you are not able to deploy it. So you need that one, and you also need one Spring Boot Docker container image. If you don't have, then you can use my Docker container. I've already created in the previous video. I have created one Spring Boot application and deploy it into Docker containers. So I'm going to use the same image for deploying the ECS. So as an overview, we have two container. One is the MySQL container, that is the backend DB, and second one is the Spring Boot container. So in the Spring Boot container that we have created the application that will handle all the CRUD operation related to the student. So actually we have exposed three endpoints. The first endpoint will save the student data to database. Second endpoint retrieve all the student from database. And third endpoint will retrieve the student based on the ID. So that same thing we are going to deploy in ECS. Okay. So before wasting the time, let's just start. So I've already created one folder, that ECS deployment, and there we are going to create. So creating the project, we need to write simple command that cdk init app, then we have to provide language and it's TypeScript. Okay, before means until it's building, let's go to the AWS account. So in the AWS account, I have already created the one I am user. You can once you log into the AWS account, you can also create one I am user, and I have already created this I am CDK user. And you can, once created, you can give the permission. For now you can give the admin permission, but it's not needed. You can give the least permission that you need. So whatever the resources you are creating, you can give all the resources access. And the security credential, you can go to there and you can create the access key. So once you click on the create access key, you have to give the command line interface permission. So you have to select the command line interface, then there you can understood and all this thing, and then click on the next. So it will create the access key and secret key. After creating all this thing, you can go to the cmd. So I think I have already opened the cmd. You can go there and you can type here aws configure, and after clicking there, you can provide your access key. The access key will get there, so you can put access key, then secret access key, and then you can provide your region. For my cases, it's app south 1. You can provide your own region, and default output format, you don't have to touch it. By default it's given none, and that's done. Now we can go to the, we will see there, yeah, it's already created. So npm install, I think, yeah, it's already done the npm install, but still I'm doing because not, if none of, if any of the package is missing, then it will create issue. Okay, now let's go to there. First, go to the bin folder because it's a starting point of any CDK project. We are going to cut this terminal, minimize this one. So now our back means our view is maximized. So it will starting, it will creating the ECS deployment stack. So it will go there. So we have to enable this line because this will the environment variable. Okay, so it will pick the default account and default region. So let's save it. And now we will go to the ECS deployment stack. So it will be in the inside the lib folder. Inside the lib folder. Okay. So now we have reached there. Now we have to write all this logic there. So the first thing is that key we have to create the VPC. But as we have default VPC, we are not going to create the VPC, but we will use the existing VPC. So const default VPC is VPC. It will take from AWS lib. Okay. Now from lookup, and we'll provide the first, we will provide the scope. So scope is this scope, then ID default, and we'll provide the other argument. So it is default, it's true. Okay. Now we will create the cluster, new cluster. Cluster will also you can see it. It's from AWS CDK lib, AWS ECS. Now we'll provide the argument. First one the scope, then ID. So cluster, the cluster, and then we will provide the argument. So first argument the VPC, default VPC, and second one the name. We can say cluster name. It's ECS cluster. Okay, you have to give inside the code, and we can also rename it. So ECS cluster variable rename. We have it. Now after creating the cluster, we are using actually so I have shown this project. Okay, I will also show you the Docker Compose file. Even though this Docker Compose file we can directly deploy in the AWS using the Docker context, but that is not the topic of discussion for today video. Okay, so today what we are going to do, we are going to create two tasks, one for MySQL and one for this student. Okay, so and we will deploy these two tasks, and this student one we will means, so deploying two tasks, we can directly deploy these two tasks, but I don't want to deploy directly. We want to deploy as a service so that we can perform some type of auto scaling and all this thing. So this student service, so this service is behind the application load balancer. Okay, so this service will run on port 80, and we will create one load balancer, and all the traffic goes from load balancer to this task. And this task, it's not inside the load balancer, it's we can say independent task that is running inside a service. So how this both service is going to communicate? So one way we can run a network load balancer, and we can assign a network load balancer to MySQL, but that is not a good practice. So what I am going to do, I'm going to run these two services, and these two services is going to communicate using the service discovery. So for today's lecture, we are also going to create the service discovery. Okay. So now let's just create the service discovery. So const service discovery, new private DNS namespace. So this is called DNS namespace. Sorry, DNS namespace. Private DNS, private DNS namespace. Okay, which kind of there. And then we have tried the same scope, then ID, so DNS, and then argument. So first argument is name. So name we will write it dev. So it will be accessible by dev, and then we have tried the VPC. So the default VPC. Okay, and then this one is enough. Now as we have created the cluster and all this thing, then we can start from task. Before writing the task, first let's write the role for that task. So const task role, new role, and inside the role, first we will give the this, so it's a role assumed wide new service principal, and we can provide here the service principal ECS tasks.am aws.com. Okay, it should not be now, it's new. Okay, we can remove this one. Now we can also assign some permission attached to policy, and inside the policy, so inside the policy we will first write the resource action or resources. So resources we will check for every resource, so we'll give the star, so we will check in the every resources, and then action. First in the log star CloudWatch. Okay, we are seeing the error because we have to write all this thing inside the new policy statement. So it should be, so we are going to copy this thing, policy statement, we'll write there. Okay, that's why we are seeing the error. Now, okay, it's done. Task, role, and policy also we have attached. Now we can create the task. So task, first one, the MySQL task, MySQL, new, it's a file. No, task definition or forget task definition. It's a forget task definition. Right. This MySQL task, and then we'll write the argument. So in the task, first we'll write the memory, how much memory we need. So memory we need the half GB. So it's 250, not 15151. Yeah, that is fine. And CPU is 1/4 of CPU. CPU 1/4 means 256. That much is enough. Okay. Now we have created the task. Other thing also we need to start MySQL task dot add container. Inside the container, we need to add the person ID. So MySQL container, and then we have to add the first thing is the port mapping. Okay, and this port mapping will be container port, and this container port will be 80. Okay, now uh, we can also add the image ID. Image. So image is container image dot from registry. If we are accessing the image from Docker container, then we have to write from registry, and then we have to give the full path. So it's the first one is the MySQL, and we can give the tag name 0.8.0. Okay, now we have written. Then other than that, we can also write the log AWS log driver dot AWS log, and we'll write here the log retention. Log retention is we can give 2 days is fine, and prefix stream prefix. We can write this MySQL. Okay. So we have given this. We can also write the environment variable because environment variable needed. Environment variable. So which environment variable we need? Let me check in the Docker Compose. So Docker Compose, we need this environment variable. Okay. MySQL root password. MySQL. Let me copy and paste, otherwise we will make mistake. Right here root. Okay, so we have to give them the key value here. So this one is enough for this container. Let's create the other task and other container. So now we have to create the another one. We can also create the service for this. Okay, const MySQL new forget service, and there we can pass this service from MySQL. Yes, and then we can provide here other arguments. So first the cluster. So cluster we have to give the MySQL ECS. This is cluster. Okay, VPC is not needed because VPC we have already provided while creating the cluster. Task dismissal MySQL task. While creating the here, I think inside the container, we can say task or here task role. Okay, here we have to find the task role. Okay, we have to provide the task role. It's not taking. Okay, sorry, we cannot provide the task role in the service. We have to provide the task role inside the task. That's the mistake we are doing. So we can provide here the task role, task role. Okay, we have given. So now inside the service, we can also provide the assign IP address public, so it's true. Okay, and we can also provide the cloud map option. Map option name. So name we are writing here the not MySQL. We can write here DB. DB is the file name, and then namespace. Cloud map namespace, and we can provide the namespaces service discovery. Okay, this is the namespace that we have created service discovery. Okay, so how this service is accessible? So service is accessible by the service discovery name. So here the name is DB. So this the URL is http :/db.dev, and then we can write the port number. Okay, so this way we are accessing this. Now we have created this service. Now next task we have to create. First the const the student task new forget task definition. So we are giving the forget service. We are not creating the EC2 because in the EC2 we have to manage all this thing. We have to manage all the infrastructure. That's why we are not creating the EC2. So we are creating the forget because forget is all managed by the AWS. We don't have to manage. We don't have to provision the server and all this thing. That's why. So this and then a student service, a student task. Sorry, not service. Then we can write here first in the task role. We can write the memory limit is 512 then CPU quarter of CPU, so 256. Okay, that is enough. Now we have to write the container port and all this. So student task dot add container. We can write the container. We can directly copy paste, but I don't want to copy paste and all these things, so we can write it. Okay, so we can write first the image. But it's not because of the issue. That's why we have to give their ID. Na? That's why it's not taken. So it's a container. Student container. Okay, and now we will take image. So image name I will copy from there. This is the image name. But we have not actually write this thing. Container image dot from registry. We will write this thing. Okay. Then I will also write the container the port mapping. Port mapping. We have written the wrong port here, I think. Yeah, it should not be the 18. It's 3306, right? This is the port, not the 80. 80 port is for the port mapping. So I will write the container port. And the port is 80. Okay. I will also write some logger driver log driver dot aws logs. We will write here the stream prefix. It's student, and I will write retention log retention. Log retention we will write 2. Okay. Now we have written. Now we will write the environment. Environment variable. We will copy from Docker container. So what the environment variable we need? I will go to the Docker container and will check what is the environment variable we need. So first one is the Spring profile we need. Then server port we need. Spring URL we need. This URL we need to change. And then other than that, nothing we need it. Okay. So first we like the Spring server.port. Port it should be 80. Okay. Now Spring dot profile dot profiles.txt, and then one more URL we need to find the Spring data ce dot URL, and we have to write here this thing. But here we have to provide the actually in the Docker container we are providing the host name as a container name, but here it's something different. So it should be MySQL sorry, not DB dev. Okay, db.dev, and that will be fine. And after that we have to create the service, but this time we are not creating the target service, we are creating the application load balancer service. Okay, one more thing is there. So here we have to create, we have already created the service where we have created the service for container. This is the service, but we have not exposed any port. So until we expose any port, how we are able to communicate to 3306? So we have to expose the port. So MySQL service we can expose it directly. We can also create the security group, but we can write in the simplest way and create the security group for us. So MySQL service dot connection dot from allow from. So we are allowing connection from anywhere. So that is the peer dot any IPv, and we are only exposing the port. So it's the port dot TCP, and we are only exposing 3306 this port. So this will do the job. This will create the security group and assign it to that services. Now we have, as we have created the task, we have created the container. Now it's time to create the service. So const ALB or a student application load balancer services. So it will new application load balanced target service. Okay. Now we'll write this, then ALB, and we'll write the frame. So first thing we have to write here also we have to write the cluster ECS cluster. Then we have to write the task definition. So it says student task. Okay. And now we have to write something extra like public balancer true PR. Then other than that, we have to write anything extra. Public load balancer, everything. So this was fine, I think. Okay. So let me run this CDK project and see what is happening. Okay. So now we will come here. Okay. And now we will run. First thing is that CDK bootstrap minus fans profile type script. So first bootstrapping means it's not the same bootstrap that we are using in the front end, but it's bootstrapping in the creating the all this infrastructure. Okay. Now I think it will take some time. Let me pause the video and I will come back when it's completed. Okay, so Bootstrap is successful. So there was some issue with log retention. So I have removed the log retention from here, and so you have to remove the log retention from two places when we are creating the container. So from there as well, log retention I have removed. And here was one mistake. I have written by mistake from asset. It should be from registry. Okay. So you can correct this and then you will be good. Now you have to write this. Means we have to write this. We have to run the synth. CDK synth. So it will create the cloud formation stack. So we will able to see whether they are able to create the cloud formation stack or not. If the cloud formation, yeah, we can see it's created the cloud formation stack. So this you can see this resource is created as a cloud formation stack, and by reading it, it's a little bit complex. It's not readable. It's readable, but we have to remember a lot of things. Yeah, that's why we are writing the infrastructure as a code. Now the last one is we have to deploy it. So CDK deploy and then run it. So once you will deploy it, it will ask for your permission whenever they are creating the resources. Okay, so it's synth is run. Now it will be, yeah. So this much resource they are going to create. First they are creating this inbound role for port 80. Okay, then it will create okay, yeah, it will also create the security group and all this thing. ALV 80 port is open, and yeah. So whatever the security group they are creating, it's asking for me, and creating log group. So what is the resource they're getting? First, they are asking permission. You want to deploy these changes? I will write yes. And I will come back when all the services deploy in the console. For now, I'm pausing the video. Yeah, so now we can resume. So there was some minor mistake. So that assign public IP. So we have to assign the public IP. Otherwise, our container is fetching this Docker image, okay, or we can say Docker image from Docker Hub, they are not able to pull because of some issue, not some issue, but the reason is that key that to make all this container as a private, we need to put this Docker container to AWS ECR. Okay, then only we can make this service private. Okay, otherwise we have to make this service as a public. If we are going to make it private, then it will not able to pull the Docker image from Docker Hub. Okay, that's why we have assigned it to public. And now you can see all this deployment has been completed. So let's go to the UI and verify all this thing. So we will go to there. First, we'll go to the services. So in the cluster, we can see there is a two service running. First service will be for MySQL service, and second one is for ALV service. Okay. So now uh, we will go to the second service and we will check the elastic load balancer UI. I mean, sorry, uh, elastic load balancer path name, or we can say URL, and then we will validate all this endpoint. Okay, so I will. You can see here behind the scene they have created the listener, even the target group. You can go to the target group and you can validate all this thing. So inside the target group, one is the healthy target, and this target has been registered. This is IP address. That IP is private IP address. There is no public IP address and all. So okay, let's go to the load balancer. View the load balancer. Copy the load balance. Copy the load balancer DNS name. We will copy it. I will var it in the browser. You can see the application is running. Now let's use this DNS in the Postman and validate all this thing. So first in the post API, and we have to add it. So there. Okay, and let's add one student. We will be able to add it. Add one more. So let's add my name. Race and age is 28. And let's add it. Okay, we will be able to add it. Now get call. Yeah, we will be able to get all the student. Now let's by ID. We are good. So that's all. So you guys, thanks for watching this video. If you guys think that video is informative, then you can like it, subscribe it, and feel free to comment it. That's all. Thank you.